Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are here for talking about energy storage in Spain. That is a very promising market. Firstly, I would like to introduce myself. Can you hear me? Can anyone confirm that it's starting or not? Or
yes, we can.
Yes, we're live.
We're live. We can hear you.
Okay, but it starts soon, right?
Right. So this is just for the intro, but yeah, we are live.
Okay.
You can just start.
I can just start. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are here for talking about energy storage in Spain, that it's a very promising market. I'm Beatriz, I work at Clean Horizon. I'm the energy storage expert here for Iberia, that is Spain and Portugal and Latin America. Basically, what we can do here is helping you in everything that you can related to energy storage. Michael, he did the company, so he can introduce himself and explain a bit more.
Okay, thanks, Beatriz, and thanks to all of you for being here today. So again, I'm Michael Salomon. I run Clean Horizon. We've been a energy storage consultancy, one-stop shop energy storage consultancy since 2009. So happy to be here today and discuss with some of our colleagues in Spain and to answer your questions when we're done. So Beatriz, did you introduce?
So guys, we have guests today for having this conversation and for aggregating more content. Luis Marquina, thank you for being here. Can you introduce yourself?
Good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you to you for inviting us. I'm the president of Aepibal, which is the Spanish Storage Association.
Felipe, okay.
Hi,
Felipe,
Beatriz.
for you as well. Thank you for being here. Can you introduce yourself for the audience?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Beatriz. Thank you, Valeria, to invite me to this webinar. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer of FRB. So I've been in charge to develop the battery business of the company in the last 3 years. And before I was working in the company in all different markets that we have been involved in the growing of the renewable energy in the last 15 years. So happy to be with you to try to share our experience.
Thank you, Felipe. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Michael, for being here. Basically, I want to explain before, just to give an introduction, why the Spanish marketing it's been so important for a lot of developers. Basically, there is a goal. The Spanish government has a goal of developing 3 gigawatts of storage into 2030. And for reaching this goal, there are a lot of storage initiatives going on. And of course, there are some market drivers. For example, if you can see on the news in Spain, there are a lot of discussion that the fuel power plants are about to close, and maybe they will really close after the energy crisis. So another market driver that we have, it's one estimation of RE, that is the Red Eléctrica de España, that the renewable energy productions will exceed the demand around 2026. So all those things, they are aggregating for the promotion and the initiatives for introduce energy storage on the country. So those storage initiatives, they are coming in format of auctions. Basically, we are having a lot of auctions for renewable energy plus storage. Right now, we will have one auction just for storage that is related to grid congestion. And of course, the AFRR market is going to be introduced to the Picasso platform, and the capacity market is one of the main expected initiatives that is about to coming on. We are waiting this for the next year. And that's why, Luis, you are very important for us because you are the Energy Storage Association. You are working more nearby this regulation part. Can you explain to me which is the regulatory next steps needed to boost the storage in Spain?
Well, thank you, Beatriz. Yes, I mean, in Spain we have good news in the sense that we have a strategy that was deployed 2.5 years ago. We could say this strategy designed agreed a route line which more or less is being following. Okay. So what is expected is to complete the circle, to close the circle. We have some part of the regulation which is available right now. It means that certain things or certain configurations of storage within the renewable source itself that can be deployed right now. But there's still a lot of issues to be resolved. And we really expect in the next 12 years, in the next 12 months, this regulation will be completed. It affects more or less everything. I mean, there are three great issues. The first of all is environmental. For instance, there is no environmental legislation or regulation linked to the storage himself to develop it. Okay, there is all the permitting and licenses processes linked to the hybridization plans that has not been properly resolved yet. So there is a lot of question marks that has to be resolved. But I think we think we are in the good line. And in the last issue, which is the market, which is the, I mean, all the people which is now working or coming into the storage world, linked or not to renewable deployment, knows what revenue stacking is. Okay, probably Felipe will talk further on that afterwards. Okay, but the revenue stacking means that you will get income from several lines. Okay, so the arbitrage or trader or trading exists in some configurations, but there's no clear how, in what services and ancillary services can we participate. This is still to be deployed. And the third one, as you said before, the capacity market or capacity mechanism, which in the country as in Spain will provide a really floor that could help us to boost the storage with or without hybridization plant. I mean, with PV plants, for instance, or wind plants. Okay, so there is still a lot of things to do, but we are in the process. I think the strategy has been accomplished slowly. It's not easy. I mean, all the regulatory changes that has to be done are complicated, and we understand. Sometimes we understand which is the governmental position with the difficulties to speed up the process as we would like. But I think there is no step back. As I would say afterwards, there is a panic that the deployment of renewables stop. And the only solution that all the people understand that could help us to deployment or the massive deployment of a renewable is a storage. So there is no step back, and we need to be more patient to really, in the next 12, 18 months, to complete all the circles from the regulatory point of view.
Just one comment, because I'm seeing a lot of people introduce yourself. So if you didn't introduce yourself, you can please do this on the comment. It's super nice to have this touch and to be in touch with your audience. So please introduce yourself, don't be shy, and send your questions, email us if it's necessary. Don't forget about this part, because for us interaction is super important. That's why we are here. Luis, another question that I have for you, it's about the renewable energy auction that is happening in Spain. It will be on 22 of November. I would like to ask you if there is any initiative for storage, because we already saw on the past auction that there is extra points for PV with storage. I would like to ask for you if you see any storage initiatives on this auction in specific.
Well, I mean, the for the 22nd auction in the next Tuesday, there is no change. I mean, the mechanism is the same auction that has been used in the last 3 auctions in the last 2 years and a half. Okay, and we really think it doesn't work. I mean, there is no incentive enough to install storage. Okay, so and they know that. Okay? Yeah. What we really trust on the capacity contest, which is another view, another way to understand how the storage can be implemented in the system. Okay, which means that you will get some points and how to work and how to create or build a plant which could be manageable. So the capacity to manage the energy is a very, very important issue. So the storage will have good points, very good points in this capacity contest. But and we really expect this first, which has still not happened, and it should be happening ending this year or probably the first quarter of the next year. So we trust more on the capacity contest, which will be the future of the auctions, more than the auctions has been designed in the last 2 years and a half. Okay, for instance, you have to install 2 kilowatt-hours per kilowatt installed. I mean, it's double the capex and the capex. I mean, really double the capex, and the incentive you get is only 25% of the spread. Perhaps the spread now could be very interesting. The spread between the price you reach and you offer and the market price, perhaps now could be interesting, but it's not the way to do business cases with this volatility of the prices right now.
Of course.
So the incentive is very low to double the capex. There is no way, and it has not been success, and the government knows that. That's why they have go through this other mechanism, which is to do points, to do the auctions, in the capacity contest, and then to offer, to give the storage the position that it needs and has to have, really.
Okay, thank you. It was very clarifying. There is another auction, that is the storage auction on the Balearic Islands regarding the grid congestion. I know that you are very into those discussions because I already participate in one of the discussions with Aepibal about this. Can you tell me some key points about this auction that our audience would love to know? And
well, so sorry, I don't know if there is a bit of misunderstanding, because what we know and we work with the Balearic is there's a proposal of on order how to develop the auctions. I mean, the auction has not been published yet. So, but what we appreciate of this mechanism that it proposes is a very similar mechanism that the auction, the contest, capacity contest, okay, which means that is going to give good points for including storage, okay. Anyway, there is a lot of things to do also in Baleares, and there is no good single price. I mean, there is a lot of things to work there. I think that's what we try to do with the government in Baleares, okay. But honestly, as far as we know, what we are working is with the proposal of law to deployment of the storage and renewal in Baleares. Okay.
okay. So thank you.
So maybe if I can just add one thing, just one question actually to Luis for clarification.
Yeah, okay.
Because you used the word capacity contest. Just want to make sure we're not creating confusion in the audience. By capacity context, you're talking about the currently open tender for PV in which you compete for capacities, right? Not
exactly.
Is it
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, because I just want just for clarification, because we internally tend to call this the renewable auction, but it's fine. And just to make it clear, capacity contest as you use it is different from capacity mechanism, which is yet another exactly.
Yes.
So
thank you.
this, I just wanted to clarify the two notions to avoid that.
No, thank you very much. I mean, in Spain, the new scheme that is going to follow in the next year is to do auctions of the capacity available in the grid. Okay.
Yes.
And then if you want to get and to be success, then you have to get some points. I mean, what are you going to do with social environment? I mean, the timing you commit that you will connect the plants, and how is the storage you're going to implement, you're going to install too, okay?
Yes.
But the storage has a value, okay, a very important value. So this is the how do we consider this storage will be very helpful, and it will be very useful, and it's very important, and it's the way we think we have the storage has to be developed in this context of capacity. Afterwards,
Yes.
I mean, if you are a single developer and you don't want to go through this, I mean, governmental auctions, and you want to go to the market, there will be another auction or whatever be the system.
Let's call this a mechanism.
Yeah,
The mechanism, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Mechanism of capacity that will provide the floor to you just for having and for be there. Okay, as the mechanism of capacity is understood in worldwide. Okay.
Yes, similar to what they have in Great Britain, in France, or in some parts of the US,
exactly.
Yeah, just to make it clear that there's two similar wording, but two completely different notions.
Thank you very much. Very prepared. Thank you very much.
Actually, thank you, Luis, for your answering. It was very clarifying. Javier, I'm seeing your question right now. I'm just asking you for you to wait a bit more on this webinar because your question will be there in the middle of the content. So we hope that we will answer you. And for other people who are sending questions, maybe if you have something more deep and if you want to send us an email or something like this, we have the emails on the comments. If we don't have, we will have our emails on the comments, so you can contact us and you can get in touch. So yes, thank you. We understood that all those initiatives, they are important, and there is no turning back for energy storage in Spain. Now, Felipe, it's your turn. I would like to ask you by your experience, because we know that you are developing a lot of projects, maybe not a lot of them in Spain. So can you explain to me what have been done in other countries like Great Britain and Australia?
Okay, thank you. So I think that in Spain, like Luis said, we are in a very good position because everyone is agreed that storage should come. It's required. There are a strategy, and now what is required, what we need is to implement this strategy, put it to work. So I think we could try to take advantage of all the lessons learned that we can take from the other countries that has gone through this process just a few years ago. We have a very close example, like it could be JB or could be Australia, where they have been very successful in this more or less quick ramp up of the storage capacity. In 2019, they had almost no capacity installed, almost no storage on the grid. And now in UK, this will be close to 2 gigawatts and a huge pipeline of projects coming. So it demonstrates that the objectives, the government objectives to reach these 3 gigawatts are achievable if the things are done properly and we follow a good strategy. So what was done in these countries? First of all, I think the key is to put all the stakeholders to work together, because it's not just that the developers like FRB see the value and see a business case for the batteries. Also, the administrations should understand what's the process to legalize and provide all the environmental production license and so on, just to be sure that it is done, like it should be done. And another very, very important stakeholder is the grid operator, Red Eléctrica in Spain, National Grid, AEMO, whoever in each country, that they also need to understand what the battery can provide to the grid and how they use the battery, because it will be the key to define the future markets and dispatching strategy. That because the final objective should be based on the storage industry, not in subsidies, not in grants, but make it viable by itself, so it will allow a further growth and for sure not be some kind of load for the budget or for the system, but be a support. And it's what we see that is happening in JB, Australia, or US, where all this huge pipeline of storage is being done right now with no any kind of a grant or public support. So how they did that? But they start step by step, just to be sure that everything is done in a right way and identify the problem, solve it, and focus the scheme for the necessities of the country. So in both countries, they first launch a small tender that could be 100 megawatts, 200 megawatts, with a very specific grid support objective, flexibility service. In both countries linked with the ancillary service, FFR service. So with this scheme, they connect to the grid a few batteries, and they start to understand how the batteries works and what they can do to support the grid. And taking these learnings, they started to define the flexibility markets that are able to capture the value that these assets can provide and create the market signals to let the developer know what they should do. So they start in a process step by step, but always growing, creating new markets, DCR, DCH, so on, doing the system more complex step by step, but with always with the vision that the batteries should not be a loss, should not be a cost, should generate value. Like Luis has said, the storage has a value, and this value should be, we should create the mechanism to monetize this value. No, the battery should not be just a cost to allow a connection or whatever. So with this proper develop of the markets, what countries has yet is a much more robust system. The batteries are providing a huge flexibility capacity that are able to provide a fast frequency response and compensate all the problems that come from the higher integration of the renewables. Both countries are very high renewables integrate. UK with the wind that on these days has been more than 50% of the country generation. In Australia, they have a huge rooftop solar generation that in some moments makes it think that was 70–80% of the country generation. So this kind of a very unstable and volatile system is they are able to manage just thanks to the incorporation of storage and the development of flexible markets where the batteries can provide the service that just this technology is able to put on the grid.
If I can maybe just comment on one thing that Felipe said, and which I think I don't know if it will be translated in a way to Spain, but in Great Britain, you mentioned, and I think also in Italy, and perhaps to some degree a little bit in France, there has been this view as the market progressed and as the regulator progressed to sort of open the floor for storage. The way they did it, especially in Great Britain and Italy, is they understood two things: that A, they needed storage to come into the game soon, but B, that their markets are not ready to accommodate storage. And so what they did is they created interim situations where they had like 3 to 4 to 5 year contracts, which would provide some kind of guaranteed revenue for storage for a short duration, not enough to fully repay the asset, but enough to get started, and also enough time for the system operator and the regulator to deploy to write the rules for the markets to open. So that's what happened in 2016 in Great Britain with EFR, the Enhanced Frequency Regulation scheme that they had, where they gave a 4-year contract, essentially annual payments for 4 years, and that left enough time for National Grid to develop the market constructs we have today, and the DC, for example, which are benefiting those assets that initially got those 4-year contracts, which made investors' life easier, so they could finance the assets. And it was not like a 20-year PPA, which would completely take those assets away from the market. And it's the same thing we have in Italy with the fast reserve, which was, I think it's a 4-year contract, 5-year contract.
Yeah, something like that.
Exactly. So it's this kind of interim, like in-between situation that some countries are taking, which I believe is a good practice, because it's kind of not being dogmatic about forcing market storage to go into the markets and are not ready to accommodate it. I think there's a question there in the questions that, when it says, when could storage see its first operating battery storage? Well, there already are operating battery storage in Spain, but there's very few of them, and they're essentially out of the market because the markets as they are today don't accommodate storage, right? So if you just let the market forces bring storage to the market, well, if there's no market products that can monetize the storage, it just won't happen. Example, Spain. Yeah. But on the other hand, if you go towards the 20-year PPA or the regulated option, where you're moving away from the European unbundling vision in a way. So those in-between situations like Italy and Great Britain, I think they're very good practice to leave people time, to leave the regulator time to develop the schemes, while at the same time to give some money to investors. But that's a bit off topic, but just to react to what you were saying, Felipe.
And I think it's also very important, was a very good decision from JB, Italy, or also Australia, because South Australia government did the same with the Neoen and Tesla battery, to force the developers to take an active role in the market. So it's not just an auction, for example, for capacity mechanisms or a daily arbitrage that is a bit more passive. No, it's a FFR auction frequency where they force the batteries to actively participate in the market and provide add value service. So it's the way that the grid operator could learn what the batteries are able and what they can capture, what kind of value they can capture for the batteries for the grid, and based on that, develop the next step and next markets.
Yes, we agree.
Let me add something. I fully agree with what Felipe said and also what you've said too. But I mean, the storage also is linked to, which is the reality of the grid and the energy mix in each market. Okay, so we cannot compare all the countries. I mean, Australia has its own design, UK too, with a lot of consume in the south, a lot of production wind in the north. So there are, I mean, Spain has a very, very robust grid. And if you ask to the TCO, what do you really need storage right now? And the answer is no, honestly, no. But if we are going to install 65 or 79 or whatever be the number of gigawatts in renewable, the answer is yes, absolutely yes, and we have to start now to do that. Okay, but for instance, in parallel to the velocity, the speed, I mean, of the government or the ministry, is the speed of the TCO. And we have the two procedures of operations. The 12.2, which is critical for storage, has been approved 1 year ago, and it's still, when it has been deployed and approved with all the players, and it still has not been approved. We have now in revision 7 procedures of operation that really impacts in the storage too, and it's been reviewed. We have also opened, which is named the work of team, the specificaciones de detalles, the detailed specifications to review if the storage against the access to the grid is being doing properly, or what can be improved on that. I mean, there is, from the technical side, not only regulatory side, and it's really in the mix of both, there is still a lot of things that are in process. Okay, so I understand there are some people who wants to know, well, when. Okay, when? Probably today, all the strategies that we see in storage are linked to hybridization, because the investors are concerned about which is going to be the pricing volatility if all this PV, for instance, renewable energy really is installed in Spain. I mean, there is a real risk to see how the prices are going to fall down during 2-3 hours per day, during a lot of days during a year. Okay, so, and it could happen in 2027 and ahead. Okay, so it means that as investors, as PV investors overall, they are really concerned about what the pricing is going to be, and then how the storage can really balance this pricing risk. Okay, if there is 2-3 hours during the day where the price is going to be 0, if I storage this energy, I can sell it at 7 o'clock, at 7 to 9, when the price could be 100. I mean, this is now the mechanism that is promoting the storage in Spain. Okay, with this logic, and I would say no single asset of PV will not have a storage in the next 2 or 3 years. It doesn't make sense. It's a self-protection strategy. Okay, and that this is what is really boosting the strategy, the storage in Spain. I've seen some questions about the standalone. The standalone can be done now. There is something.
Sorry, Luis.
Okay,
it's not
great.
that we don't want you answering the questions.
Okay,
the question is programmed to answer later. So let's come back here to the main point, because a lot of people are asking about business model, standalone, hybrid, and we are receiving those questions daily because we are the consulting company. So those questions, they will be answered at some point, and then on the end we'll do just the questions part. So sorry, Luis, for interrupting you, but we need to follow the script, otherwise we will not talk everything that we should talk. Thank you, Felipe. Being all this international marketing that we were talking about, can you tell me what is your point of view about the rule of storage in Spain? Because we were talking about international, and then we should come back more about Spain.
Yes, I think like we have said before, the storage in Spain has a bright future, because it is a strategy, is the objectives, and I think it will be really required. Maybe not today, but in a few years, with all the objectives of integration of renewable, the system will need this kind of asset, flexible assets, to accommodate, because we will start to have times of a very high solar generation, with also with the retirement of the thermal plants, the fast frequency, the inertia will be reduced a lot, and we need someone to provide that. And right now, okay, you have the synchronous condensers and so on, but we really think that the batteries could be a very good solution, because with their capacity to provide a lot of different add-value service. If, for example, we install a synchronous condenser, that could be a solution. It will be most like some kind of cost, because it's capable to provide the inertia, that's great, but they cannot work on other kind of flexible service in energy arbitrage to compensate high and low load periods and so on. So every system.
It's good that you mentioned about inertia. Actually, just for clarifying more for the audience, inertia, it's one of other prediction as a marketing driver from the TSO, that is the Red Eléctrica de España. So around 2030, it's predicted that the level of inertia in Spain will decrease around 30%. So with this, maybe it's necessary to implement more storage for grid forming application, and then it will have more balance on this inertia. So this inertia can be balanced using grid forming and importing energy from France. We are believing that grid forming application will be more useful, since Spain has this goal for developing more and more storage.
If you see, I think that really these 3 gigawatts of objective probably are out of date, and much more capacity will be required. If you see, with all the new European Commission objective of integration of renewables and so on in the next years, there are some studies that talk about 190 gigawatts of storage in Europe, and Spain is one of the main countries in Europe. So it's just to give you an idea of the size of the necessity of storage that we will have in the system in the future, and we should be ready because it's something that could not be done from one day to other. And also we should keep open because you are discussing colocation, standalone, but there are another very important angle that we are also working, that is the virtual storage. So the domestic renewable distributed installation are growing a lot, and in the last year, most of these domestic installation are coming with small batteries, 3-5 kilowatts battery. So we start to have we will have a huge capacity of storage distributed in the grid. So the advanced solutions that are capable to optimize the performance of these solutions, and just not optimized from the point of view of the owner of the small battery, but also from the point of view of the grid to provide aggregate service. I think could and should have a principal role. We can see in other most advanced countries on this regards, like could be Australia, where actually there are this kind of very big virtual batteries on the market. We are very active on that. We have invested in Evergen, the local leader company, and now they are starting to operate also in Europe, providing this service that could make the transition faster and also more efficient by this having this kind of hybridization of renewable projects, standalone, but also the use of distributed assets.
So thank you, Felipe. Actually, it's very important to have your point of view because I think that a great part of our audience, they are developers as well. And then they have the same questions that you have. And I already saw the question box. So it's basically the same type of questions that we are receiving daily here as a consulting company. That's why on this conversation with Michael, we may solve part of those questions, and keep sending questions, keep sending us an email, and be engaged with this webinar. So Michael, what is the business case for storage in Spain?
Okay, so thank you. So without actually to react to Beatriz's question, and I think to what you were saying, Luis and Felipe. So yes, I think that I saw some questions. I think Luis, you also mentioned that, I believe, is that yes, a standalone storage could technically work as of today in Spain. I mean, there's no interdiction to do that, but so the only interdiction, if you wish, is linked to the profitability of the investment.
Yes, that's right. If you want just me to add something, is
yes, please, yes.
No, it's a matter of investment of return. I mean, it's a matter of IRR. What do you expect? So, without any capacity market, still or any capacity mechanism, honestly, there is the numbers doesn't run, but you can deploy it. There are still some issues how it's going to be registered, but just in the last part of the process, once you have the plan built, then there are some issues that the government will resolve. I mean, they have to register the plan as whatever, no, as a production plan or whatever. So, but it can deploy yet.
So it can be done, and indeed. So
sorry, the only issue is it can be done as generator. But one of the great issues is that storage in Spain is considered as a generator.
Yeah.
So if you want to resolve a problem in a point of the grid where it's congested with this, there is massive where there is no capacity because the PV or wind has collapsed this grid point, then you will not have access. And listen, but I am the problem. I'm here to resolve the problem. I'm here to discharge this point when it is going to be collapsed. Yes, but you're a generator. So the problem is now, if you want to develop standalone, you have to ask access to the grid where there is access free, and we know all how which are the problems of that. So this is one of the issues. Okay, that we are working hard with the government just to make them understand that we can offer other things here. So we are here to resolve the congestive problems. Perhaps we have to reserve some capacity in the grid points, collapsed grid points for storage, just to resolve the problems and to protect all the promoters. Okay.
Please, sorry, a very good point. Just a second, because it's really what we are doing in Australia. We have a very large project in Australia, divided into phases, total 350 megawatts, and this project is just installed in these congestion points to solve this problem that are generating the renewable asset. That is something that right now in Spain, where this kind of regulation is not possible to be done.
Exactly. But so if we focus it on Spain, I agree. So the point in a lot of jurisdictions in Europe, to putting a price on congestion management is an issue, and even in places like, for example, in Germany, for example, or in some parts of France, there essentially those assets may even be TSO owned, because essentially part of it's considered part of the grid. But if you're looking at, in any case, as of today, with the revenue lines that are accessible today, let's say it's very difficult to make a living, to make a business case for storage. But obviously, when IPPs such as FRV or whomever in our audience is trying to make a forward-looking statement on the Spanish market, well, obviously they have to sort of imagine or forecast what will be the revenue lines available. So when we look at this, there's to us, there's not only the capacity mechanisms, so capacity payments, as you were mentioning, Luis. To us, when we look at this market, we look at, say, there's kind of two things in terms of the revenue stack. There's, on the energy side of things, there's day-ahead imbalance, clearly, that will play a role, albeit small. We know, by the way, that Spain and Portugal have been a trailblazer at capping to some degree capping the energy price on the day-ahead market. So obviously it's good for the ratepayers in Spain, but it's not good for assets such as storage trying to make money out of the spreads. But on the other hand, we do believe that, as Beatriz mentioned, that when the AFR market, the AFR service, so the secondary reserve, joins the Picasso platform, it will open opportunities for storage to participate. And as you may or may not know, AFR in the Picasso context has a capacity and an energy payment. To note, in Spain, AFR is already technically open to storage, although let's say the way the rules are written are extremely disadvantageous because there's no limit on the duration of how long the service can be called. So obviously, this makes it impossible for a storage asset to take that kind of risk. Nevertheless, the annual payment in, let's say, even before the COVID crisis or the current energy situation in Europe was close to 150,000 euros per megawatt per year, just out of being delivering, just as part of capacity payment for delivering AFR. So there is probably a bucket of value here, which is of interest for storage if you want to build a business case. Now, yes. If I may add one thing, what I just said here applies to any storage, standalone or hybrid, storage that decides to go and play with the market. By the way, I forgot to mention, a capacity mechanism, not a capacity context, is in discussion, which will, as we said, deliver some annual payments to storage. We don't know how much, we don't know the rules, but at some point it will help. That's one thing, which is storage addressing the market. Now, if really the vision of the capacity contest, where renewables or PV gets better access to the grid if it's linked to storage, which was the case in the previous rules with the point system. Well, the elephant in the room is if it happens, it depends how those rules are written, but if the only way to get enough points to win the contest, if the best way to get enough points to win the contest is to have storage, what's going to happen is you may see multiple gigawatts of storage effectively being pushed into the grid because that's the only way to win the context. In which case, what may happen is there's two options possible. As you know, when you win the capacity context, you win access to the grid, but then you have to sell the energy, right? And so what can happen is two things. A, well, the storage is just going to be there and try to live its life on the multiple revenue streams that I mentioned 2 minutes ago, just like a standalone asset in a way. Or in some cases may happen, I don't know. The hybrid plant will be PV plus storage, and there will be an off-taker for that energy. And perhaps the PPA price for that off-take contract will be higher. So it's not clear. The avenue for the future of storage business could either be to some degree full merchant, or could be completely embedded into a PPA, which would result in just a slightly higher PPA price for solar energy in Spain, because the capex of the storage will be embedded into it. So there's kind of two avenues there.
Yeah, exactly. For us and for everybody, having this access to the grid, it's a challenge in Spain. So part of the people, they are going to the hybrid projects because of this challenge of access the grid. But we know that's not like the completely correct solution, because we can forecast the prices and we can try beyond the forecast trying to find a better solution. And I saw this question, it's Lander's question and it's my question, and it's one question that we are receiving every day. So Michael, what about clarifying to the audience that we can do about forecasts, and maybe we can implement a better...
Okay. Like I said, there's kind of two ways around it, right? So either you say, well, you just don't even think about merchant revenues. You just think of, well, I'm gonna embed the storage into a PV plus storage PPA, and somebody on the other side of the line is willing to pay an extra couple or 5 or 6 or 7 euros per megawatt hour for my service. Fine. If you find that, stop your worries, you're fine. Other option is, like I said, going to merchant. Now, if you go to merchant, then obviously you need to believe in something in terms of what will be the future revenues that you can access on the market. And this is where it becomes complicated. And so your question is how to do this? How to forecast?
Yes.
So it's a million euro question, but the way we do it, right? The way we do it with partners is and which we believe is the correct way to do it, is to it's a kind of two-step process. If you bear with me, it's 2.5 steps. So I'm going to go with the first 2 steps that are easier to understand, and then we can discuss the last half step. So the way we do it, but other companies may do it differently, is we use with the partner company like a large artificial intelligence model, how it works. Basically, we use it to link external parameters such as gas price, coal price, or all those kind of parameters to future like a future scenario of energy price, imbalance price, and AFR prices. And those prices are just a function of external parameters, like raw prices, if you wish. Now, the issue is, and especially on shallow markets like AFR, like ancillary services, where storage can really play a role. The second step, once you have those kind of raw forecast prices, either with a company like ours or other companies, or you can do it internally, the issue is to be able to tie those prices together so they create a coherent story. And the way to make this tie, according to what I think, is to have some kind of like a trading model, like a dispatch model for a storage asset, which is able to detect the opportunity cost for storage of not going to one market and going to the other, and vice versa. Why specifically for storage? Because storage has a capability, has more flexibility than any other asset, and barring the rules allow this, which you can make, it's an assumption that you can make, storage is able, better than other assets, to connect all other markets, so that even if you make your raw forecast and you believe that, okay, per megawatt per day, you can make like 100 euros on the energy market, and you could make 200 euros on the and you can make, like, say 50 euros on the AFR market. Well, those things are not consistent, because no storage would accept to only make 50 euros on the AFR market if it could make 100 euro on the energy market. So they will have an opportunity cost of 100 euros of not providing AFR. Hence, there needs to be a coupling between those markets. So that's why once you have a raw forecast, you need to have this this kind of second step, which is simulating the trading.
And exactly on this trading model that we are using, it's important to mention for the audience, because everybody is speaking about this all the time. We are taking into account technical aspects of the battery as well, like the battery degradation. And it's important to put this on.
Let's not give them the propaganda, but in any case, yes, we're doing this perfectly well. But doesn't matter. For this discussion, doesn't matter. The point is, if you forecast those prices, you'll need to take. Sorry for interrupting.
No,
you'll need to take into account the specific coupling that storage makes between those markets, and especially in the context of ancillaries that are very shallow. Now, for Spain,
I have a question before, because you were talking about ancillary services, and there is another one that we may fit here. So we know that already happened in other countries. When the ancillary services open, markets like AFRR, they are dropping very fast when there are a lot of batteries on the market. So it's important to clarify how we are dealing with these, because already happened with Germany, if I'm saying correctly. But yes, the market is not super big. The AFRR market is not huge. So when we have a lot of batteries in this contest, this market is dropping very fast. So
so you can see it. So it can be seen the negative way, as you saw it.
Yes.
You can see the positive way, as I want to claim it, which is markets are shallow, and it will be very soon filled in by storage.
Yes.
Now, first thing, when storage is a minority player, the marginal price on those markets is still done by a less efficient asset, say a gas plant.
Yeah.
So in the first few years, there's always more money to make. So it's a first come, first served market where most of the profit is in the first years. So I'm just saying the same thing as Beatriz in the positive way, which is go first, take the money, and then. But
I'm taking the negative way because it's the client's point of view, and I think it's the audience point of view.
So actually, in a way, you're taking the debt way, the debt vision, and I'm taking the equity way, which is essentially you cannot go. It's very difficult to go to a lender and tell them, look, in Spain, AFR is probably 600 megawatt, probably. Yeah. So you can't tell them, look, I have a 100 megawatt project. It will take 15% of the market. Yes, there's no barrier to entry. And in 3 years, the market will be dried. So even though on the equity point of view, you're willing to take this risk, and because you could, and the revenue levels in Spain actually would be high for AFR. So it's a risk I can take. It's not something I can show to my banker. That's one. And so obviously, when you try to forecast how those prices work, you need to take into account like a vision of how fast storage is going to penetrate the market. Okay, that being said, one little caveat: when 100% of the market is filled in by storage, remember, it does not mean the price drops to zero. If you see the example I gave 5 minutes ago, which is even if 100% of the market is taken by batteries, as long as the batteries have an opportunity cost and not doing something else, then the price can remain high. Example, if today in Spain, 100% of the AFR was done by batteries, and there was now, like an invasion of Ukraine by Russia, then the price will be still so high on the energy markets that there will be an opportunity cost for batteries not to go on the energy market. Hence, the price of AFR will remain high, right? So it's not automatic, and there's correlation between those markets that need to be taken into account when you build a business case.
So another question that I believe that I already saw on the questions marked as well. Michael, we know that it's taking some time for developing a storage project. I don't know, around 20 months nowadays. And I would like to ask you, what is your point of view about marketing perspective when those projects that people are starting to develop now are ready?
So in terms of the projections, the market projection?
Yeah, the market projection.
In terms of price or in terms of quantity?
In terms of
of price, I don't know. I don't know that by heart. But so by the way, 20 months, I would say more 30. It's more like a two to 3 year process.
Yeah.
But so in terms of the price on the markets, that's difficult to answer, I guess.
Yeah.
But in terms of quantity, so the way we see it, more or less, like so there's this target that was mentioned earlier of 3 gigawatt of storage by 2030.
Yeah, 2030.
Yeah, so we believe it's either okay, we believe that probably close to 1 gigawatt, maybe less, will be devoted to AFR type services, right? That's one. Then why do I say 1 gigawatt? Because there may be kind of overshoot, or maybe the size of the market may increase. We mentioned earlier that there's discussions when renewable will reach a certain threshold, that there may be some lack of inertia, which may prompt the need for more storage, maybe a few hundred megawatt by, let's say, 2025 or whatnot, or after this. Then in the second part of the decade, when there's so much renewable, I was discussed earlier, there may be slightly more arbitrage opportunities in the imbalance market, the MFR, or the energy market, which would probably prompt a few 100 megawatts of storage. Maybe this one may be 4 hour, like longer duration, because you'll need more energy arbitrage. But then, as I said earlier, the elephant in the room, which may double my my forecast, if you wish, is whether or not, again, there will be a point system that de facto almost forces storage to be coupled with PV. In which case, yes, it will vastly, the amount of storage will vastly could vastly exceed the 3 gigawatt target by 2030.
Yeah, exactly. My point of view is similar for this. People are telling me that we only have 3 minutes. I believe we should answer some questions.
Beatriz, 3 minutes and a lot of things to discuss with Michael. Sorry, because we are not fully agree with all he said. Okay. But anyway, there's no time for more. Perhaps another time. Okay.
Well, I mean, if you have time and you're happy to continue, we can, go on for another 10 or 15 minutes or so.
Now I will
from my side.
Grill me.
All right then.
No, I have 5 minutes and I have to jump. No. The issue is, I mean, who said this is the market? I mean, in everywhere the storage is here to stay. But how to forecast the business model is not easy. Felipe knows perfectly how to do that around the world, and in all the countries, the first is complicated. There is no bankability because there is no previsibility about what is going to happen. It's not easy to understand how the market is going to move. It's very dynamic, and if you buy a pair of shoes and you walk, the shoes at the end will wear out. So this is and how to react afterwards. Who knows? But the issue is this is a very dynamic market, and probably what we have to accept, and the message I will like to launch is, we should accept that renewable energy is not as cheaper as we really think, okay? Because including this storage will make these solutions, energy solutions, very efficient, but also a bit more expensive. So, but if we could move ahead of in between something between 50 to 65 euros per megawatt hours, which could be a very interesting price for energy right now, considering the pricing right now, all the technologies could really live, including storage for renewable in Spain, for instance. So we are going through this market. I don't know if from the marginal price, from PPA, from auctions, whatever, but what is clear is that the storage is very, very profit investment for the state, for the system. Okay, the issue is how to transfer this profitability to the system, to the promoter. This is the key issue, because the system doesn't invest itself. The promoters are the investors. Okay, so how to promote, how to transfer this profitability of the system to the promoter. This is the key issue, and this what is not easy to develop. But obviously, this is a very active market. It's very dynamic. If everybody puts a storage, then it means that the spread will be lower. The spread will be lower then, which, I mean, obviously that we know that, and probably the first 3, 4, 5 years will be very interesting until the market will establish in a high risk and in a high range of prices, higher than we have now, and could be, I mean, a definitive picture of how this market is going to move. But I would like to be more optimistic. I understand it is very difficult to forecast the business case. All the investors has to change something in their mind about, I mean, they have to be prepared to manage energy. Okay, I mean, a renewable asset is a renewable energy that you have to manage. You will have to take decisions every day, every week, every year, whatever. And it means new professionals, new access, new approach to this technology, this opportunity. And I think it's the way you can really understand that nothing in the past will be the same in the future. Something is going to change, but has to change, and it will change. That is the only thing I would like to add.
No, I fully agree with Luis. I think it's a change in the mind. We should move from being just a generator, a company that put electrons in the grid and forget about what's happened, to be an energy management company. Luis say they manage energy day, month. No, we manage the energy hour by hour. We very skilled teams, very advanced systems, in order to know where we should go in each moment. We can do that in Australia and UK, because the market has been developed and the market has started to pay for this service that the batteries can provide and the market needs. So on this way, we create this kind of stack of revenues. And some revenues come from national grid, other ones could come from a off-taker, another one from the TSO, DNO, or whoever. So we create a different stack of revenues coming from different sources based in the real-time management of the energy that are able to create this stack of revenues that make a viable business case, because you say, okay, market evolves, it's not easy to predict how the lender will finance, but in a well-developed market, it is possible. We are financed with a typical non-recourse debt, long-term, or projects in Australia and UK, and we are talking about $300 million project. So very huge investments, and the lenders believe in the business case and put their money in the traditional way. So it is possible. The key is create this kind of a scheme, ecosystem that is willing to pay the value that the batteries could generate.
Yes, so there's a question for me.
No,
Is that a question for me?
no, just a comment.
Oh, I don't have a comment. No, I don't have a comment. I think I agree. So I mean, I 100% agree with what I said, which is essentially, well, to me, everything you said in the past 5 minutes falls into two categories. The largest one is essentially we need, like in other country in Spain, to have like revenue lines made available to us by the various stakeholders in the electricity value chain, like the DSO, the TSO, the energy markets. Okay, I agree with you 100%, and that's what I think Spain is working on. I mean, quite frankly, again, with the integration of, say, AFR into Picasso. But another thing that we said, or I think you also said that, both of you said that storage needs to be removed from the generator role into, as you called it, energy manager role, or however you want. But that's another discussion on the grid code. And I agree that would unlock. Now, that is maybe even more difficult to obtain. I think I don't know, but because that would that may unlock and trigger a lot of positive results for penetration of storage in the country. Because if you're saying it's no longer a generator, it's an energy manager, or it's a specific category into the grid code, then this category, for example, may have a different attitude towards paying grid fees. In the example of Italy, for example, as you know, as a storage, when it consumes energy, it has to pay grid fees, but it's a bit unfair because most of the energy is then discharged. And the way they solve that problem, the way the Italian regulator solved that problem is by saying, well, when storage consumes energy, it's not consumption, it's negative production. And as such, it should not be eligible to any taxes and grid fees as long as within the next 30 days, that energy is fed back into the grid one way or another. So in effect, what they're saying is, well, the grid fees are only applied on the losses, which is a vision. Okay, some might call it fair, some might call it unfair, but obviously it's very favorable to storage. And so they could do this because they defined a legal object called storage, which is no longer a generator. And so that's what I'm saying. When you change the regulatory status of the asset, suddenly it triggers a lot of things down the road. So, I mean, I agree to all you said, which is essentially storage provides more services. And as such, yes, there should be market constructs where the value that storage delivers is paid for, whatever the market, whatever the construct. But as well, or to the side, or to me, it's a separate topic, but okay, maybe it's just an intellectual distinction. The legal categorization of storage as something else, not generation, not consumption, something, energy manager, if you want, creates a lot of positive, impacts on the business beyond what we said earlier, which is to allow storage to participate in congestion management, which it can't. I love this example, was very clear, but also even in any merchant-based business case, with the example that I gave from Italy, if suddenly you only pay the grid fees on the losses as opposed to on 100% of the energy that you consumed, because the legal category into which storage fits allows you to do this, well, your business case is easier, right? So, well, so
sorry,
to
friends,
me, I agree with it.
I want to congratulate for the debate. I think it's very interesting. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the people. Frankly speaking, there is a lot of questions that has not been resolved. Please contact Kathy. Aepibal is the Spanish Association. There is a lot of, we are matched with all the questions that people is asking, and we will be happy to attend them wherever they want. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Luis.
Felipe.
Thank you, Felipe, for your time.
Carlos,
Thank you, Felipe.
Renata.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Guys, I just want to say one thing before I drop out.
Yeah.
Please, everybody who sent me this question, this webinar took longer than we expected. Please send to me by email.
We'll receive them. We will answer all those questions by email. I think.
Do you have time? Yeah, for email, we will answer all those
by email,
questions.
yeah.
So
Everything will be answered.
Okay.
All the 25 questions we didn't even look at. Apologies. And we will answer. So you will receive an answer. And we'll discuss with Beatriz, either we do it one by one, or we just send a PowerPoint with all the questions and one answer, and we share it to everybody.
just answer one by one.
One by
yeah,
one.
it's
Okay.
better.
One by one. Okay.
Also from my side, if someone wants to address directly any question, I will be happy to answer, because we have seen also a lot of questions regarding aggregation, vehicle to grid, smart trading, so on. We are, in addition to our role as developer, we are very active on this side. I said before that we are working very closely with Evergreen, that is one of the main distributed batteries aggregator in the world. So happy to answer any of your questions and try to help you to understand better what could be done.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Valeria.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.